Well, I'm back. It was a rough 2 weeks. I had a medical procedure done that made it hard for me to sit. They injected like 12 needles into my spine, and one of them rubbed up against my sciatic nerve. So my entire left side was super upset with me, which meant no editing for me. But here we are. This week is a little different. You won't actually see me messing around with books. And if you caught that slight change in the title, that's right. I passed the 15,000 mark this past week. This video is all about the ceiling, which I have had a little contest running on Instagram for. We did have one person guess what it was. Kudos to him, though he's a guy my husband works with. So while he wins the prize, I'm so sad none of my online folks could quite figure this out. You're seriously going to kick yourself. So this awesome guy is my friend Jeff. He's a handy kind of guy, and he's the dad of one of the kids that I've adopted. I adopt kids like all the time. I consider Kelsey my niece, and she holds a very special place in my heart, much like all of my other adopted kiddos. And by proxy, so does her dad. I always ask Jeff to help me with the small electrical items, mostly because if I haven't done it before or there's confusion with how it's done, like too many wires or something, he helps me not make mistakes that could be fatal or might damage my house. I have mad respect for this man. In this case, not only were we working with the electrical, we also had to remove that pesky medallion. And I wasn't sure what to expect, so I just kind of stood and watched for the most part. Thankfully, I'm not always a watcher. And this is where I go into a rant. OMG. Do any of you play Diablo 4? Vessels of Hatred? You play in the current season? You know, the season of the Spiritborn? I'm like so annoyed. Like, I love that we're getting a new class and all, but dude, the bugs, the latency, the crashing, I've pretty much stopped playing already unless my husband asks, or if he needs me to power level another character for him. I tried the new stuff and it all requires 2 or more people. Like, dude, sometimes I just want to play alone. And on top of that, I can't even play my favorite class. Basically, if you want to play Torment 4, you must be a Spiritborn, or maybe a Sorcerer. My husband seems to be surviving just fine as a Sorcerer. I usually play Rogue or Necromancer, and let's just say they're completely worthless unless you're like on Torment 2. I've heard that Barbarians have it even worse. But on top of everything, after last season, I really enjoyed the Andy Rogue build, and well, it's really absolute crap this season. None of the other rogue builds work with my playstyle, so yeah, annoyed. Truly annoyed that I have nothing to play. But that's probably for the best, since I should truly be recording and getting the library rooms finished. Then we can get our living room back, maybe watch TV. I don't know, but that's the end of my rant. So as you saw, we did get the medallion removed and the ceiling spackled. We also talked about how the lighting was going to go and where I could add more lighting, should I need it. Jeff had some majorly awesome ideas, so I'm kind of looking forward to trying a few of them. The major thing I needed was to figure out what I was going to do with the ceiling. At this point, I still had no idea. But once we removed the medallion, it was evident. Either I came up with something to cover the circle, or I painted the whole damn ceiling. And yeah, I really didn't want to paint the whole ceiling. That would require a lot more time, money, and effort than I was wanting to put into this project. I'm already choking on how much the shelves cost. But I keep telling myself, it'll be worth it. It really will be worth it. I'll keep telling myself that. Jeff was also concerned that the lights wouldn't quite provide as much lighting as I'd need, so he suggested a few different lighting schemes that we'll probably implement, even if it only ends up being for ambiance. I had to make a cardboard cutout so that I could make sure and get all the lines right, but I ended up going over the edges, and you'll see that later in the video. Thankfully, it really did work out just fine once the vinyl was put up. Getting all the different parts worked into the cardboard was actually kind of difficult, as the centerpiece for the track light is a square box and the center of the design is a circle. So I did my best to make sure that once the box is fully installed, I have round bits of vinyl to place on the edges. We got our base up on the ceiling, and then once it was ready, it was time to start painting. As you can see, I'm sanding it down, hoping that the paint will adhere better. There was a lot of rough spots due to the spackle. When I was editing the video, I found watching this part to be really entertaining. So I spent a lot of time laughing at myself. But I did make sure to get all of the measurements right. Tried to mark everything so that I know where to put the vinyl. Here I needed to get a little bit of help. Thank goodness for multiple people in my household. My husband was away on a trip at the time, so I'm really grateful for Austin. When folks first saw this red bit, they were so sure it was going to be a Pokeball. I mean, it really does look like one. But once the purple went on, confusion kind of set in, and many folks were just kind of stumped. So my husband and I actually started kicking around various ideas, and finally my husband found a picture on Google that spoke to him. He wanted to put everyone under this beautiful spell that is my library. We did consider a Pokeball. I mean, it's like the perfect shape, and with the black track light going right through the center of the circle, it would have been epic for sure, but this choice definitely was more our style. Oddly enough, with it being shonen based and my genre of choice being BL, I found this whole situation a little funny. But I do love many Naruto pairings. So yeah, it works in the end. Have you figured it out yet? Do those lines look familiar yet? Yeah. It's a genjutsu, the best kind, the Sasuke kind, divided right in half, so we get the best of both eyes. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever dealt with vinyl before, but putting on vinyl on anything at best is a pain. Add that on top of the fact that I had to put this vinyl on above my head. Let's just say it wasn't easy. So I tried to make sure that when I put it up, it was as close to the edging as possible. The clear stuff that I'm pulling off is called transfer paper. It's used in order to make sure that you keep your vinyl where you need it. These sheets were 15.5 inches wide at its smallest, 31.5 inches in length at its widest. And as you can see, my red wasn't completely circular. So not only was I trying to put the vinyl up there, but I was trying to paint it at the same time. But in the end, I don't know. I think it turned out pretty well. I'd love to hear your thoughts.